My name is Lena Hart. I am 33 years old, a high school English teacher from Seattle. And 3 weeks ago, I woke up in a hospital bed completely paralyzed but fully conscious. I could not move. I could not speak. I could not even blink, but I could hear. Every word, every whisper, every lie. Before I tell you the full story, hit the like button, subscribe, and comment your state or country and what time you are watching. Because what happened to me is almost unbelievable, and I want to know where people are listening from as I finally tell the truth. All right, here is where my nightmare began. I woke up in total darkness, not the kind that comes when you close your eyes, but something heavier, thicker, like I was trapped underwater or buried beneath something cold and unforgiving. I could not tell where I was or how I had gotten there. I searched my memory, but everything came back in scattered flashes that made no sense. All I knew for certain was that I was alive, but barely. I tried to move my fingers. Nothing. I tried to open my eyes. Nothing. I tried to scream. Nothing. It felt like my entire body had disappeared, like I was only a mind floating inside a silent, broken shell. Then I heard it, the rhythmic beeping of a heart monitor to my left. Too steady, too slow, too calm for the storm rising inside my head. That was the first sign I was in a hospital, but I had no idea why. For a long moment, there was only the sound of machines, the hum of an air vent, and the soft shuffling of someone walking past my door. I tried to focus, hoping for any clue, any sign that someone would notice I was awake inside my own mind. But nothing happened. Until the door finally opened. I recognized the footsteps instantly. Heavy, measured, confident. It was my husband, Noah Hart. Even in a room full of strangers, I would always recognize the sound of his shoes. For 8 years, that sound meant I was safe. Not anymore. He walked closer to my bed, and my heart kicked hard against my ribs. I tried again to open my eyes, desperate to see him, to let him know I was here, but my body refused to respond. Then I heard a second pair of footsteps. Lighter, faster, a woman. Her voice came just a moment after. Gentle, sweet, too sweet. How is she today? It was Ava Collins, Noah's assistant, 26, blonde, bright smile, perfect teeth. The type of woman people describe as stunning because that is easier than admitting she looks like temptation sculpted by hand. I had met her 3 times. She had hugged me the first time we met and called me adorable. Every instinct inside me told me she was trouble, but Noah had laughed it off. She is just energetic, he said. She respects you. Apparently not enough to stay away from my hospital bed at 7 in the morning. Noah let out a sigh. Same as before, no change. His voice sounded heavy, but not the way a grieving husband's voice sounds. Not broken, not devastated. More like someone waiting for a delayed package to finally arrive. Ava stepped closer. I could hear the soft rustle of her clothes as she leaned in. I imagined her looking down at me with false sympathy. Do the doctors think there is any chance she wakes up? Noah lowered his voice. I don't know. They said the brain activity is low. If she does wake up, she might not be the same. There was a long pause. My heartbeat picked up, the monitor reacting in real time, but neither of them noticed or cared. Then Noah said something that froze me from the inside out. Sometimes I think it might be better if she does not wake up. If my body had obeyed me at all, I would have bolted upright. I would have screamed. I would have grabbed him by the collar and demanded he repeat himself. But I could not move. I could only listen as my husband stood over me wishing for my death. Ava stepped closer to him. I could hear her voice soften the way women do when they pretend to comfort someone. Don't say that, but she did not sound horrified. She sounded understanding, encouraging, waiting. Noah exhaled slowly. If she wakes up, she might never walk again. She might not talk. She might need full-time care forever. I don't think she would want that. It was a lie. I had never once in my life said anything like that. He was rewriting my wishes to make my death sound merciful, convenient. Another long silence filled the room before Ava spoke again, this time even quieter than before. Do you know when the doctors will ask you about life support? That was when my stomach turned cold. Life support. Were they already talking about turning it off? Were they waiting for permission? Were they waiting for me to die so they could move on? Noah replied so calmly it made me nauseous. The neurologist said that if there is no improvement in 2 weeks, they will discuss options with me. I have the full medical power of attorney. And then Ava said the most horrifying words I had ever heard. That's a heavy responsibility. But you have to do what is best. My best. Not theirs. Mine. And what they meant by best was letting me die. Then it got worse. Ava moved even closer. I heard the shift in fabric, the breath she took, the tone she used that only lovers use. You deserve to be happy, Noah. And then, right beside my unresponsive body, I heard it. The soft, unmistakable sound of two people kissing. It was not a polite kiss. It was not a gentle brush. It was deep, intimate, a kiss between lovers who had long since forgotten to hide. Right in front of me, right over me, right as they discussed my death. I felt tears slide down my temples, though I could not feel my face. My body was crying even though I could not move a single muscle to show it. Noah pulled back first. We should go. Nurses will be doing rounds soon. Ava whispered something I could not catch. Then the door opened again, and they left together, laughing softly, whispering, planning something, maybe a future without me. When the door clicked shut, I lay there alone, trapped in silence again. But now the silence was worse. It was a cage filled with betrayal and rage. That was the moment I made a promise to myself, without speaking, without moving, but with every part of my mind still alive. I will not die for them. I will not disappear for them. I will find a way to expose them, no matter how long it takes, no matter what I have to endure. I will make them regret ever standing in this room and assuming I was already gone. Before everything collapsed around me, before the accident, before the hospital bed and the silence that trapped me, I believed my life was stable, safe, predictable in the comforting way that comes after years of routine with someone you trust. I believed I understood my husband. I believed in us, in our marriage, in the life we had spent 8 years building. Looking back now, I wonder how much of that life was real and how much was an illusion carefully maintained by a man I loved more than he ever deserved. My husband, Noah Hart, was 36, a real estate developer who had built his own company from scratch. Ambitious, charming, always moving a little too fast, always thinking ahead. When we met in college, he had this energy that felt contagious. He made me feel like we were going somewhere together, like I was part of the future he saw so clearly. I graduated with a degree in education and started teaching high school English. I loved it more than I thought I would. My classroom became my safe place. My students became pieces of my heart. And every day, after grading papers and talking about novels, I came home to Noah. He would tell me about clients, projects, offers, risks. I would tell him about essays, teenage drama, and the small victories my students made. We fit together, or at least that is what I believed. We bought a craftsman-style house in Capitol Hill, one with big windows, polished wood floors, and a garden I spent years turning into something beautiful. Noah said it was his dream home, and I believed him. We talked about starting a family. We traveled every summer. We had Friday date nights that felt like our ritual, one we never broke for years. If you had looked at our life from the outside, you would have said it was perfect. If you had asked me, I would have said the same. There were signs, but I ignored them. Or maybe I convinced myself they were harmless. About a year ago, Noah hired a new assistant. Her name was Ava Collins, 26. Beautiful in a way that made people stop talking mid-sentence, confident, sharp, and ambitious in the way that made her seem older than she was. Noah talked about her constantly. At first, it did not bother me. I trusted him. I trusted us. I had no reason not to. Ava organized everything perfectly. Ava handled the new clients. Ava saved them time. Ava made things run smoothly. Ava stayed late to finalize proposals. He said all of this with excitement, as if he had finally found someone who understood his speed. Sometimes he talked about her more than he talked about me. I told myself it was normal. Work was stressful. He needed reliable help. That was all. But then Ava started appearing everywhere. At company dinners where spouses were invited, she sat next to Noah, laughing too easily at every joke he made. When I brought lunch to his office, she was always there, always too comfortable in the space that was supposed to be ours. My friends noticed before I did. They gave me those careful looks, the ones people give when they do not want to sound judgmental but feel obligated to tell you something. Do you trust her? Do you trust him? Does it bother you that she is always around? My sister, Emma, was less subtle. She asked directly if I was worried, but I said no. I said Noah would never cheat. I said we had been together too long, that we had built too much together. I trusted him completely. That is the line I always come back to. I trusted him completely. That trust began to crack 6 months before the accident. Noah started acting different. He became distant in a way I could not explain. He was always on his phone, always distracted, always stepping outside to take calls he said were about work. He canceled our Friday date nights with excuses that were thin and repeated too often. When I reached for his hand, sometimes he did not reach back. When I kissed him, sometimes he turned his face away. When I asked him what was wrong, he blamed work stress, a big deal coming up, a tight deadline, too much pressure. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe everything was fine. I wanted to believe the man I loved was still the man I married. So I convinced myself nothing was wrong, but the truth was already there, right in front of me. I just refused to see it. He started going to the gym more, buying new clothes, taking more care with his appearance. He said he needed to look sharp for meetings. I said nothing. I let him tell me whatever he wanted, because the alternative, the possibility that he was losing interest in me, terrified me. Some nights, he did not come home until after midnight. He would smell like cologne I did not recognize, and when I asked where he had been, he would say he had to go over numbers with Ava. Ava again, always Ava. I should have known. I should have seen it. But when you are in love, denial is not just a mistake. It is a survival mechanism. And then came the night that changed everything. It was October 14th. I remember because I had stayed late at school for a parent-teacher conference night. I was tired. It was raining hard, the kind of relentless Seattle rain that turns every road into a slick mirror. I drove carefully. I had done that route hundreds of times. But something felt off. I ignored it. When I pressed the brake pedal for the first time, nothing happened. At first, I thought I had misjudged it. I pressed harder, still nothing. That moment of dawning panic, that moment when your brain understands something your body cannot respond to, is something I still feel when I close my eyes. My brakes were gone, completely gone. The car in front of me was slowing down, red lights glowing in the rain. I tried to shift down. I tried the emergency brake. I tried everything. Nothing worked. My car spun. The world twisted. I heard myself scream. And then there was impact. After that, there was only darkness. And then the hospital bed. And then the voices. And then Noah wishing I never woke up. That was the moment I realized my marriage had not fallen apart. It had been rotting quietly for months, maybe years. And I had been too in love, too blind, or too trusting to see it. I was no longer Lena Hart, wife, teacher, partner. I had become something else without knowing it. I had become a problem Noah needed to solve. But I was still alive. And I was about to find out just how far he had gone to erase me. When I think back on those last 6 months before the accident, it feels like watching a movie of someone else's life. A woman who looks like me, talks like me, lives my routines, but has no idea she is walking toward a cliff. Every scene is filled with red flags she calmly steps past, believing everything will be fine because the alternative is too painful to admit. I was that woman, blind, hopeful, terrified of the truth. The changes in Noah began small. So small I dismissed them the way you dismiss a flickering light bulb. Something you notice, then forget about, because it is easier to assume it will fix itself than to replace it. He started coming home later. First 30 minutes late, then 2 hours, then long past midnight. When I asked about it, he always had the same answers. A meeting ran long. A client needed him. A deal was falling apart. Ava was helping him sort out paperwork. He spoke about her the way a man speaks about someone who has become essential to his life. Necessary, irreplaceable. He used to talk about me that way. I told myself I was overthinking. Teachers do that. We spend our days analyzing teenagers, so we start analyzing everything. But deep down, there was a weight in my stomach I could not shake. One night, I walked into his office unannounced to surprise him with dinner. Noah was not there. His desk was empty. Most of the lights were off. But Ava was inside, sitting in his chair, feet up, typing on his laptop like she owned the place. She looked up at me with that bright, practiced smile. "Oh, Lena. Hi." Noah just stepped out. Stepped out where I asked. She shrugged. "Not sure. He said he would be right back." Her tone was casual. Too casual. The type of tone people use when they know something you do not. I waited 20 minutes before Noah came back. His hair was messed up. His shirt was wrinkled. He smelled like a different cologne than the one he usually wore. I asked where he had been. He froze for 1/2 second, just long enough for me to notice. Then he smiled. "Printer jam. Another office. Maintenance guy. Long story." I felt something inside me sink, but I did not ask more questions. Not that day. Instead, I went home and cried in the bathroom while the shower ran to drown the sound. I told myself it was stress, that I was tired, that the school year had been overwhelming, anything except the truth forming in the back of my mind. Noah stopped touching me as often. We used to hold each other in the kitchen while cooking dinner. We used to kiss without planning to. We used to laugh when we bumped into each other in the hallway like teenagers. Now, when I reached for his hand, he would pretend he needed both hands to check an email. When I leaned in to kiss him, he would kiss my cheek instead of my mouth. When I hugged him, he stiffened slightly before relaxing, as if reminding himself he was supposed to respond. Most nights, he fell asleep on the far edge of the bed, his back to me, his phone under his pillow. Once, I woke up at 3 in the morning and saw the glow of the screen lighting his face. He was smiling at something on his phone. When he noticed I was awake, he hid it instantly. "Could not sleep," he said, "working." I pretended to believe him. The worst part of betrayal is not the act itself. It is the slow, suffocating realization that you are no longer enough for someone you love. That truth grows like mold. You do not see it until it has already spread too far. My sister Emma tried to warn me. She said Noah had changed. She said the way he avoided eye contact when we were all together was concerning. She asked if I thought he might be seeing someone. I laughed. Not Noah. Never Noah. He told me once that cheating was the one unforgivable act in a relationship. He said that if he ever stopped loving me, he would leave before hurting me like that. I repeated his own words back to myself until they felt like a prayer. Things will get better. He just needs time. It is just work stress. We are fine. But we were not fine. The next sign came during a company dinner. Ava wore a red dress, the kind that reveals more than it hides, and she sat directly next to Noah even though there were 3 empty seats on the other side of the table. Her hand brushed his arm more than once. He did not pull away. At one point, she leaned over to whisper something in his ear, and he actually blushed. My husband, who I had seen handle million-dollar deals without flinching, was blushing because of a whisper from his assistant. I excused myself and went to the restroom, where I stared at my reflection under the harsh bathroom light. I looked tired, older than 33. My hair was frizzing because it had rained earlier that day. I had dark circles under my eyes from grading papers late into the night. I looked human, real. Ava looked like a fantasy. That was when the fear truly began to settle in. Not jealousy, not anger. Fear. A cold, sinking fear that I was losing the person I had built my life around, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. I tried to talk to Noah that night. He brushed it off. I asked why we seemed distant lately. He said it was nothing. I asked if he was happy. He said he was just stressed. I asked if he still loved me. He said of course, but the way he said it did not reach his eyes. I told myself to give him time. I told myself marriages go through rough patches. I told myself that after 8 years together, passion naturally settles into comfort. But here is the truth I did not want to admit back then. Comfort is not supposed to feel like abandonment. There was one last sign, the biggest one, the one I should have paid attention to. Noah began locking his phone. Not just the regular locking everyone does. A full privacy mode. A new passcode. Notifications hidden. Phone always face down. always near him, always guarded. Before that, we shared everything. I knew his passcode, he knew mine. I never had anything to hide. He never used to either. But now, he took his phone with him into the shower, into the garage, into the garden. If he left it on the table for even a moment, he hovered around it like a shadow until he picked it back up. All the signs were there, all the warnings, and I ignored them because I loved him, and because I thought loving someone meant trusting them even when something felt wrong. I did not know it then, but someone else had taken my place in Noah's life long before the accident. Someone else had been his choice, his desire, his secret. I was no longer his partner. I was his obstacle. And obstacles, you remove. The truth would not hit me fully until the hospital room, until the voices, until the confession that shattered my world. But the path to that moment started months earlier, with every red flag I pushed aside. Sometimes betrayal is not sudden. Sometimes it begins quietly, soft, slow, small enough to ignore, until one day it is large enough to destroy your life. And mine was about to be destroyed completely. October 14th started like any other long school day. Parent-teacher conferences, tired parents, anxious students, late hours, and the fluorescent lights of the school cafeteria humming overhead while I explained grades and behavior concerns. By the time I packed up my things, my head was pounding, and all I wanted was to go home, take a hot shower, and drink tea while Noah sat beside me on the couch. I still believed in that life. I still believed in the version of Noah I had married. I did not know that on that same night, my husband was waiting for a phone call that would tell him if his plan had worked. Outside, Seattle rain poured in sheets, the kind that sounds like static against your windshield. It was close to 10:30, long after dark, and the parking lot was nearly empty. I remember fumbling with my keys and thinking how quiet the city felt, a strange kind of quiet that settles in your bones. I got into my car. My silver 2014 sedan. Reliable, safe, recently serviced. I had picked it up from the dealership only 3 weeks earlier, after a routine inspection. Everything had been perfect. I had no idea someone had crawled underneath it in the middle of the night and turned it into a weapon. The drive home was familiar. Highway 520 westbound. 6 lanes. Wet pavement reflecting streetlights like broken mirrors. I drove slowly, both hands gripping the wheel, windshield wipers beating a desperate rhythm. I kept thinking about Noah, about the way he had left that morning. He had kissed my cheek instead of my lips. He had barely looked at me while grabbing his coffee. He had left the house wearing a new suit and the cologne I did not recognize. I told myself I was imagining things. I told myself I was exhausted. I told myself the marriage was not falling apart. I had no idea it was already gone. 10 minutes into my drive, I approached a slow stretch of traffic. I eased my foot onto the brake pedal. Nothing happened. At first, I assumed I had pressed too lightly. I pressed again. Harder. Still nothing. My pulse spiked instantly. A bolt of cold panic shot through my body. I pressed the pedal all the way to the floor. There was no resistance, no pressure, no brakes. My car continued forward. The red taillights ahead of me glowed like warning signs in a nightmare. I pumped the brakes frantically. Nothing. I tried the emergency brake. It jerked slightly, then failed. The road curved right. My car did not. Adrenaline hit me like a shockwave. I gripped the steering wheel with both hands, fighting to control the skid. The tires lost traction. The car fishtailed violently. The road spun. The headlights smeared across the rain-soaked asphalt. Everything outside the windshield became a blur. I remember screaming. I remember the world turning sideways. I remember seeing the concrete barrier rushing toward me. And then the impact came. Metal crushed around me with a deafening roar. Glass exploded. The airbags slammed into my chest and face. Pain stabbed through my ribs, my pelvis, my head. The world folded inward, darkening at the edges like a collapsing tunnel. Then there was nothing. No sound. No light. No time. Just an endless, terrifying quiet. I do not know how long that void lasted. Maybe a minute, maybe hours, maybe days. It felt like floating inside a black ocean with no surface. Then slowly, piece by piece, The world seeped back in. A beeping noise. A ventilator hiss. Muffled voices. Pressure around my body. A weight in my throat. My first thought was confusion. My second was fear. My third was the desperate urge to open my eyes. I tried. Nothing. It felt like someone had stitched my eyelids shut. I tried moving my fingers. No response. My toes. Nothing. It felt like I had been poured into a body made of concrete. A living coffin. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I wanted to demand help. But nothing moved. Not my mouth. Not my jaw. Not even my breath. The ventilator breathed for me. People spoke around me like I was not there. Doctors, nurses, machines. Patient remains unresponsive. We will continue monitoring brain activity. Minimal reaction to stimuli. Possible vegetative state. Vegetative state. They thought I was gone. They thought my mind had shut down. But I was there. Fully conscious. Trapped. Hours passed. Maybe days. No one realized I was awake. No one realized I could hear every word. No one realized the world had not gone dark inside me. And then Noah arrived. The moment I heard his voice, a rush of relief washed through me. My husband, my partner, my safe place. He would tell them to check again. He would see something in me that others missed. He would know. But as soon as he spoke, that hope turned to ice. He was not broken. He was not devastated. He was impatient. I heard him ask the doctor how long they were going to keep me on life support, how long it would take to know if I would wake up, whether I would ever function normally again. His questions were not those of a grieving spouse. They were the questions of someone waiting for permission to make a final decision. Then Ava arrived. She followed him into my room like she belonged there, her voice soft and rehearsed, her footsteps too confident, her breath too close to his. They talked to each other in low tones, forgetting I could hear. No change. No improvement. No hope. Then Noah said the words that carved a permanent scar into my memory. Sometimes I think it might be better if she does not wake up. Ava replied gently, almost lovingly. You have to do what is right, Noah. Later, when the doctors left, she pressed herself against him. I could hear it, the whisper, the kiss, the quiet sound of betrayal inches from my motionless body. And as they kissed, as they touched, as they made plans for a future without me, I realized something that made the accident feel even more horrifying. Maybe this was not an accident. Maybe Noah had been waiting for this moment. Maybe he had wanted it. Maybe someone had made sure my brakes failed. A realization that should have been impossible began growing inside me, slow and poisonous. Someone had tried to kill me, and whoever it was, stood at my bedside every day, pretending to grieve. The hardest part about waking up inside a broken body is realizing that everyone around you believes you are gone. They talk over you, around you, through you, but never to you. You become an object, a medical complication, a responsibility, a burden. But inside, you are screaming. The first days after Noah and Ava's visit felt like drowning in slow motion. I wanted to claw my way out of my own skin. I wanted to jump up and tear the tubes out of my throat. I wanted to look Noah in the eyes and ask him why he stopped loving me, why he betrayed me, why he was willing to let me die. But the truth was so much worse. He was not willing to let me die. He was waiting for me to die. Every time he visited, his voice sounded more detached. Every time he spoke to the doctors, he sounded more impatient. Every time Ava entered my room, she behaved with a confidence that made my skin crawl. They were not afraid of being discovered, because discovery required me to wake up. And according to the doctors, I would not. I remember one afternoon when a neurologist came in to examine me. He shined a bright penlight into my eyes. I tried to follow it. I tried to move my pupils, tried to twitch, tried to blink, tried to do anything to show I was still in here. Nothing. My body betrayed me again. He sighed softly. Still no response. I do not like the trajectory. Trajectory, as if my life were a plane diving toward the ground. He left the room, and minutes later, I heard Noah asking questions in the hallway. Is there any chance she might wake up? Unlikely. The trauma was severe. There was prolonged oxygen loss. Brain activity is minimal. We do not see purposeful movement. Noah exhaled, but not with grief. Relief. I heard it, felt it in the room like a cold draft, and then I heard him whisper, "Thank God." My pulse spiked, but the monitor only reacted slightly. Nothing anyone would interpret as awareness. My mind screamed so loudly I felt like my skull would crack open. How could he thank God for this? I had spent 8 years loving him, supporting him, believing in him, and he stood outside my room, relieved that I might never speak again. I needed someone, anyone, to see me. But no one did. Family came, friends came, coworkers came. They cried, they prayed, they told stories of me, hoping I could hear, and I could, but none of them realized I was awake. Not even when tears formed in the corners of my eyes and slowly slipped down my cheeks. The nurses wiped them away like I was a leaking faucet. There were no signs of conscious activity, they said. They were wrong. Inside, my mind sharpened. My fear turned into clarity. My panic became purpose. I was not going to die in that bed. Not before exposing the truth. Not before making them pay. Something changed about a week after the accident. A new nurse began working the night shift. Her name was Maria. She had a gentle voice, the kind that feels warm even when the rest of the world feels cold. She spoke to me even when no one else did. Not as a corpse, not as a vegetable, not as a fading case file. She spoke to me as if I were still human. "Hi, sweetheart. I am going to clean your arms. You let me know if anything hurts, okay? Even if I cannot see it, you try." I tried. God, I tried. I focused every ounce of willpower into a single finger, begging it to twitch. My brain felt like it was on fire. My nerves felt like they were wrapped in barbed wire. Nothing moved. But Maria did not give up. "I think you hear me," she whispered one night, adjusting my blanket. "I do not know why, but I feel it. I feel you are still here." Those words were the first hope I had felt since the crash. For the first time, someone sensed the truth. Meanwhile, Noah's visits grew shorter. One day, he stayed only 5 minutes. Ava was with him, her perfume filling the room like a sickness. "Are they sure she is not feeling anything?" Ava asked quietly. "Positive. She is non-responsive. She does not know we are here." "Good," Ava whispered. "Good." Then, she leaned closer, too close, and said something that drained the blood from my body even though I could not move. The brake job worked perfectly. Cold dread sliced through me. The brake job worked perfectly. There was no more uncertainty, no more doubt, no more denial. Noah had tried to kill me, and Ava had helped him. My husband, the man I shared a bed with, laughed with, planned a future with. He had climbed under my car and cut the brake line, or paid someone to, or convinced someone else to do it. It did not matter how he had done it. It mattered that he had wanted me dead. I replayed every moment from the past months, every lie, every distance, every change in his behavior, and suddenly everything made sense. He did not want a divorce. He did not want the house. He did not want a separation. He wanted the insurance money. He wanted freedom. He wanted a life with Ava. And I was in the way. But he had miscalculated one thing. I was not dead. I was not gone. I was not giving up. I lay there, trapped in a useless body, listening to them plan a future built on my grave, and something inside me shifted. Rage. The kind of rage that can keep a person alive in situations where survival seems impossible. The kind of rage that turns fear into fuel. I whispered a promise to myself, even though no sound escaped my lips. "I will get out of here. I will expose you. I will take back my life. And you will regret ever touching mine." But before I could get justice, I needed something much more urgent. I needed my body back. When morning came, I felt the weight of everything pressing down on my chest. Not physically, but in that heavy, suffocating way your soul feels after surviving something that should have killed you. My mind kept looping through the same thought. Today was the day. The day we would take the truth out of the shadows and force it into the light. The day the man who pretended to love me would finally face consequences. Nurse Emma arrived just after sunrise, her hair pulled back, her scrubs wrinkled from a night of restless sleep. She closed the door quietly behind her and smiled at me, but I could see the tension in her jaw. She tried to hide it, but she was nervous too. "Good morning, Sarah," she whispered. "Big day." She adjusted my blankets and checked the machines, mostly just to keep her hands busy. I blinked once, slow and steady, a yes. I knew it was a big day. I had been preparing for it since the moment I realized I was conscious inside this paralyzed body. Since the moment I heard my husband planning my funeral like it was just another item on his to-do list. Emma leaned down, lowering her voice further. The detectives said they'll be here early to set everything up. The undercover officers too. And don't worry, okay? You won't be alone for a second. Nobody is going to let him hurt you again. I blinked twice. My version of a thank you. She squeezed my hand gently. Her fingers were warm, grounding, human. It was strange how much I craved small things like that now. Touch, warmth, connection. They used to be background noise, invisible blessings. Now they felt like miracles. While she worked, my mind drifted back to the first few days after the accident. The terror of realizing I could hear everything. The slow, dawning horror of Marcus bringing his mistress into my hospital room. The nauseating sound of them kissing inches away from me. The darkness, the suffocating helplessness, the certainty that my life was ending and I could do nothing to stop it. But today? Today was power. Quiet, trembling, fragile power, but still power. I had a voice again, even if that voice was just a blink or a movement of my eyes. I had truth. And truth can flatten empires when the right people listen. Around 8 a.m., Jennifer came in. She looked like she had not slept at all. Her hair was messy, her sweater was on inside out, and she carried 2 coffees, one for Emma and one for Dr. Patel, even though she had forgotten to grab one for herself. "Hey, sis," she whispered, sliding into the chair beside me. "You okay?" Blink once for yes. I blinked. She exhaled in relief and let her forehead rest lightly against my arm. "I don't know how you stayed sane," she said. "I don't know how you survived 2 weeks with him acting like he cared while planning your death. If it were me, I think I would have lost my mind. If only she knew how close I had come." At 10 a.m., Detectives Morrison and Park arrived. The room instantly shifted, the air becoming sharper, more focused. They both greeted me with a soft nod, the kind you give someone you respect, someone stronger than you expected. "Morning, Sarah," Detective Morrison said. "Just want you to know we are ready. We are not taking any chances with this guy." Detective Park leaned closer to my bed. "You are the bravest person I have ever met. I want you to remember that through everything today. You are the reason he's going to prison. Not us. You." My heart thudded. Not because I felt brave, but because I didn't know how to respond to words like that. For weeks, I had been nothing but a trapped mind inside a broken body. I had been helpless, terrified, a prisoner. But they kept calling me brave. Maybe surviving makes you brave, even when you feel like it makes you weak. They spent the next hour positioning equipment, adjusting where they would stand, reviewing the plan with Emma and Dr. Patel. I listened to every step. Marcus would come at 2 p.m. He would be told my prognosis had not changed. He would be gently guided into discussing life support. He would be encouraged to talk openly in a private setting. He would not know he was being recorded. He would not know officers were in the room. He would not know I was conscious. He would walk straight into his own trap. Right before lunch, Dr. Patel came in, carrying his tablet and wearing a grave expression he had clearly practiced. He sat beside me and spoke softly. "Sarah, when he arrives, you will hear things you have already heard before. But this time, we need you to stay still, just like you have been doing. Can you manage that?" I blinked once. He nodded. "Good. The police want him to feel confident, reckless. They want him to repeat what he already confessed. And when he does, we have him." He blinked again. Yes, I understood. They all left around noon to prepare. The room felt too quiet afterward, like the air was holding its breath. Machines beeped in steady rhythm, my only company. I never realized how loud silence could feel until I lived inside it. At 1:45, Jennifer came back, this time wearing a look I had never seen on her before. A mix of protective fury and deep, bone-level fear. She sat beside me, curled her fingers around mine, and whispered, "I will be right outside the door when he comes. When this is over, when he's gone, when you're safe, I swear I'm never letting anyone hurt you again. Ever." He blinked. One slow, grateful blink. At 1:58, the room filled again. Detectives in position. Dr. Patel in his chair. Emma pretending to do patient charts. Uniformed officers waiting just out of sight in the hall. The trap was set. Every heartbeat sounded like thunder in my ears. At exactly 2:03 p.m., his footsteps echoed outside the door. My blood turned to ice. The door opened. Marcus walked in. He looked polished, put together, wearing the same mask of grief that had fooled so many people the past 2 weeks. People who did not realize grief looks different when the person you're crying for is still breathing. Dr. Patel greeted him calmly, and Marcus took his usual seat beside my bed. He looked directly at me, giving the kind of sad, affectionate smile meant to manipulate onlookers. "Hi, sweetheart," he whispered. "Still no change?" If I could have snarled at him, I would have. Dr. Patel cleared his throat. "Actually, Marcus, that's what we need to discuss today. It's been 2 weeks. Her neurological assessments show no meaningful response, no signs of improvement." Marcus exhaled slowly, like it was tearing him apart. He deserved an award for that performance. "This is hard, doctor, really hard. But I want to do what is best for her. If I had teeth I could control, I would have clenched them." They talked about quality of life, long-term care, the ethics committee. Then Dr. Patel carefully mentioned the police review of my car. When he said the words brake line examination, I saw it. A twitch, a shadow, a flicker of fear he tried to swallow. And then Detective Morrison stepped forward from the shadows. "Mr. Cole, I have a few questions for you." Marcus jerked, startled. "What is this?" "An investigation," Detective Park added as he stepped out, "into your wife's accident." Marcus's panic rose like heat from asphalt. But still, he tried to bluff. "I already told the officers everything. It was an accident. Her brakes failed." Detective Morrison crossed his arms. "Interesting, because our forensic team has concluded the brake lines were cut, not frayed, not worn, cut, cleanly, deliberately." Marcus went absolutely still, like prey that finally realizes the predator is real. And then Detective Park said the words that ended everything. "We also have a recording of you discussing your wife's death and admitting you tampered with the car." His face drained of color. "Where did you get that?" he whispered. Morrison stepped closer. "From your wife?" Marcus blinked, confused, stunned, shaking. "My wife? She's unconscious." Dr. Patel stepped aside so Marcus could see my face more clearly. "No, Marcus," he said quietly. "She is not unconscious. She has locked-in syndrome. She's been fully aware this entire time." My heartbeat roared like gunfire. Marcus staggered backward, staring at me with horror, disbelief, and something almost like fear of God. You were awake?" His voice cracked. "You heard everything?" He blinked. "Once." "Yes." That was the moment everything shattered for him. Detective Morrison moved behind him, pulling out handcuffs. "Marcus Cole, you are under arrest for the attempted murder of your wife, Rachel Cole." My blood rushed in my ears as they cuffed him, read him his rights, and dragged him toward the door. He twisted once, trying to see me, begging under his breath. "Rachel, please, let me explain. Please, I swear I never meant." Detective Park cut him off sharply. "Save it for the judge." And then he was gone, dragged down the hallway, out of my room, out of my life. Emma rushed to my side, eyes wet. "You did it," she whispered. "You survived. You saved yourself. Hess done." Jennifer burst in moments later, tears streaming down her face, laughing and crying as she hugged Emma and Dr. Patel. Then she leaned over me, brushing my hair gently off my forehead. "It's over, Rachel. Hess never going to hurt you again." For the first time since the accident, I felt it. Relief. Real. Deep, trembling relief. I was alive. I was heard. And justice had finally begun. The hospital felt different after Marcus was dragged out. The walls were still the same, dull beige, the machines still hummed, the fluorescent lights still flickered overhead. But something in the air shifted. The fear that had been wrapped around my chest for 2 weeks finally loosened. I could breathe a little easier, even though a machine was doing the breathing for me. Jennifer stayed by my side for the rest of the afternoon. Her face was puffy from crying, but every time she looked at me, there was this glow in her eyes. Pride, relief, fury, love, all tangled together. "I cannot believe you went through all of this alone," she whispered, brushing my hair away from my face. "You are the strongest person I have ever known." I blinked once. A yes. But inside, I wanted to tell her that I had not been strong. I had been terrified. I had been trapped. I had been seconds away from losing everything because the man who vowed to protect me had tried to destroy me. Being strong was not a choice. It was survival. Detective Morrison returned a few hours later, now out of his heavy coat and wearing a softer expression. He looked at me with the kind of respect I never expected to see from a man who had probably witnessed horrors most people only saw in movies. "Rachel," he said gently, "Marcus is in custody. He broke during the ride to the station, gave a full confession, every detail. He even admitted he practiced cutting brake lines on a junk car at the salvage yard. If I could have shuddered, I would have. That man had rehearsed my murder." Park stepped in behind him. We also picked up the woman, Claire. She was leaving her apartment with a suitcase, so she clearly knew what was coming. "Good," Jennifer said sharply. "Let her rot." Detective Park continued. "She is being charged with conspiracy and obstruction. She also admitted to knowing about the insurance money and helping Marcus plan how to cover his tracks." My stomach twisted. The betrayal from two people at once was corrosive. I blinked once, slow, deliberate. "Thank you." Detective Morrison nodded. "You did the impossible. You survived. You exposed them. You saved your own life." When they left, the room fell quiet again, but it was no longer the kind of silence that suffocated me. This one felt like rest. For the first time since the accident, I did not dread nighttime. Emma came in later with fresh sheets, a warm blanket, and the softest smile in the world. She had red eyes, like she'd been crying, but also this victorious spark in her expression. "Hey, Rachel," she whispered, sitting on the edge of my bed. "You did something incredible today. I hope you know that." I blinked once, the closest I could get to saying, "No, Emma, we did it." She took my hand carefully. This time, she did not look at me like a patient. She looked at me like a friend. "I want you to know something," she said quietly. "The moment I saw that tear on your face, I knew you were still in there. I don't know why I checked twice. I don't know why I asked you to blink, but I'm glad I did. I'm glad I listened. If I could have spoken, I would have told her. She saved my life more than once. First, when she realized I was conscious. Then when she set up the recording that exposed Marcus. And now, by simply being here when everything felt too heavy." She leaned closer. "You are going to get better, Rachel. Not all at once, not overnight. But you are going to heal, piece by piece." The idea seemed impossible, but her voice made me want to believe it. Later that evening, Dr. Patel returned with more equipment and a hopeful expression. "Rachel," he said, "today gave us not only justice, but also clarity. Now that we know you are fully aware, we can begin real rehabilitation. I want to start neurological exercises tomorrow. Small things. Eye tracking, facial muscle stimulation, early steps, but important ones." The thought terrified me and thrilled me. I had spent 2 weeks trapped in a body that refused to obey me. The idea that something could change, even a little, felt like a miracle. Dr. Patel continued. "Locked-in syndrome recovery is unpredictable, but I believe you have a strong chance of regaining partial mobility. Maybe more." Jennifer gasped. "Really? She can recover?" I saw the truth in his eyes even before he said it. "I believe she can, with time, with work, with support." I wanted to scream, to laugh, to sob in gratitude. But I blinked once. Slow, strong, yes. When night finally fell, the room dimmed and the machines glowed softly around me. Jennifer had gone home to shower and rest, promising to return in the morning. Emma had hugged me before leaving for the night shift change. The detectives were gone. The officers outside my door had changed shifts twice. I was alone, but for the first time, I was not afraid of being alone. Instead, I replayed the moment Marcus realized I was conscious. The horror on his face, the fear, the shock, the crumbling of the lie he had lived in for months. For so long, he had held the power. He had controlled everything. He had decided when I ate, when I slept, when I breathed. But in that one instant today, everything reversed. He had become the powerless one. And I, the woman he tried to kill, the woman he left for dead, the woman he planned to bury and move on from, was the one who destroyed his illusion. I was the one who survived. I felt a quiet fire inside me, a small flame, but bright, burning, growing. It was not rage anymore, not fear, not even grief. It was purpose. I had a life to rebuild, a body to reclaim, a future to fight for. As the machines hummed and the soft nighttime lights reflected in the window, I knew one thing for certain. This was not the end of my story. It was the beginning. The next morning came with a sense of possibility that I had almost forgotten existed. Light filtered through the blinds, soft and golden, warming the room in a way that felt symbolic. For the first time since the accident, morning did not feel like a continuation of a nightmare. It felt like the beginning of something new. Dr. Patel arrived early, carrying a tablet and a warm confidence that instantly lifted the air in the room. "Good morning, Rachel," he said. "Ready to get started?" I blinked once. Yes. Emma came in right behind him, her expression bright despite barely sleeping. She carried a small tray of tools and electrodes, things that looked both intimidating and hopeful at the same time. "All right," Dr. Patel continued. "Today we start with simple neurological engagement, eye movement, facial muscle response. Nothing painful, I promise." Emma sat up beside me, attaching light sensors and placing a small device near my temple. She squeezed my hand and whispered, "You've got this." Dr. Patel began with simple instructions. "Look left." I focused everything I had on the movement. The world shifted just a fraction. "Good." "Look right." A small drift, barely noticeable, but real. "Excellent." Even the tiniest success felt monumental. It was proof that I was not trapped forever. Proof that my body could still respond. Proof that I still had a future outside this bed. After the eye tracking, they moved to facial stimulation. A low electric current, gentle but strange, pulsed into different muscles, urging them awake. My face tingled, sometimes it twitched, sometimes nothing happened at all. But when Dr. Patel tried the current near the corner of my mouth, something shifted. I felt it. A tiny movement. Emma gasped. "Did you see that?" Dr. Patel nodded, excitement flickering through his calm demeanor. "That is voluntary activation. Rachel, that is incredible." I wanted to smile again. Really smile. The fact that the first small twitch of my mouth happened while Emma was holding my hand felt fitting. By the time the session ended, I was exhausted. Not physically, but mentally. Concentration felt like running a marathon inside my skull, but it was worth it. Every micro movement mattered. Emma wiped my forehead gently. "You did amazing. This is how recovery starts, 1 inch at a time." I blinked once. A soft thank you. Later that afternoon, Jennifer returned. She had brought a small stack of cards from my students, colorful messages scribbled with marker. "Miss Cole, we miss you. You are the best teacher ever. Please get better soon. We can't wait to see you again." One card had a drawing of a stick figure version of me standing at a chalkboard with a big smile. I did not know whether to laugh or cry, so inside my mind, I did both. Jennifer read each message aloud, tears streaming down her face. "They adore you, Rachel. They ask about you every single day." Hearing that tugged at something deep inside me. My students, my classroom, my life before Marcus shattered everything. That world felt so far away, but the cards reminded me it still existed. It was waiting for me. At 4 p.m., Detective Park stopped by briefly with an update. "Marcus is being held without bail," she said. "His lawyer tried to argue for release under supervision, but the judge denied it. Has too high a flight risk." "Good," Jennifer muttered. Detective Park continued. "Claire is cooperating. She provided text messages, emails, and details about the affair. She admitted she knew Marcus had taken out multiple insurance policies on you." The cold truth hit me again. I had been a paycheck to him. Not a wife, not a partner, not someone he loved. A target. Park exhaled. "I know this is difficult, Rachel, But I want you to know you are safe. We are building the strongest case possible." After she left, the room was quiet again. Not a painful quiet this time, a thoughtful one. I had been so close to dying without anyone knowing the truth, so close to being erased from my own story. Now, I was at the center of a criminal investigation that was unraveling every lie Marcus had built. Emma returned in the evening to check my vitals and help me through the blinking alphabet board so she could understand what I wanted to say. T, H, A, N, Q, Y, U, F, U, R, B, I, L, I, V, I, N, G, M, I. When she finished reading it, her eyes filled with tears. "Oh, Rachel," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You saved yourself. I just helped you turn the lights on." She squeezed my hand again, and in that moment, she felt more like family than anyone had in months. After she stepped out, I stared at the ceiling for a long time, thinking, remembering, feeling the weight of the last 2 weeks and the strange, surreal freedom that followed. For days, I had lived in terror, listening to the 2 people who were supposed to love each other plan my death, hearing them kiss, hearing them laugh, hearing them dream about a life built on my grave. Now, justice was unfolding piece by piece. I was not just a victim, I was a witness. I was alive, and I was slowly returning to myself. Around 9 p.m., as the lights dimmed and the machines hummed softly, I felt something strange, a faint vibration under my skin, a small tingling in my right hand. I focused, and then it happened. My index finger twitched, not because of the machine, because I told it to. It was tiny, barely a ripple, but I felt it. My heart pounded. I concentrated harder. Another twitch, then a second, small, weak, but undeniably mine. Tears pooled in my eyes. I was coming back, piece by piece, inches at a time, but I was coming back. When Emma peeked in to check on me one last time before shift change, she saw the tears and hurried to wipe them. Hey, what's wrong?" I blinked rapidly, trying to get her attention. She leaned in, grabbed the letterboard, and held it up. I spelled it slowly. MYFINGIRMUVID. Her mouth fell open. "Rachel, are you serious? Try again. Let me see." I focused everything I had left, and my finger twitched. Emma gasped like she'd witnessed a miracle. Oh my God, Rachel, you did it. You actually did it." She clapped her hand over her mouth, tears spilling from her eyes. It was the smallest movement in the world, but it felt like the beginning of a new life. And for the first time since the accident, I did not just feel alive. I felt hopeful. The next morning, the first thing Emma did when she came into my room was lean over my bed with wide, excited eyes. "Good morning, Rachel," she whispered. "Show me again." She did not need to specify what she meant. I knew. I focused, exhaling inside my mind, gathering every ounce of strength in my body, and my index finger twitched. A clean, intentional movement. Emma let out a soft gasp that she tried to muffle, but failed. "Oh my God, it's real. It's consistent. Rachel, this is incredible." She hurried out and returned with Dr. Patel, who came in with the kind of energy usually reserved for surgeons who find a miracle in a scan. "All right, Rachel," he said, positioning himself at my bedside. "Let us see this movement for ourselves." Once more, I focused. My finger twitched. Dr. Patel leaned in. "That is voluntary movement, not reflexive, not electrical stimulation. This is you. This is your nervous system waking up." He straightened, visibly moved, his normally calm expression glowing with excitement. "Rachel, this changes everything. Your recovery window is opening faster than expected. With aggressive therapy, we may see significant improvement." If I could have smiled, really smiled, I would have. Instead, tears slid down my temples. But this time, they were not from fear or helplessness. They were tears of possibility. Jennifer burst into the room minutes later, breathless, still wearing pajama pants and mismatched shoes. "Emma called me," she blurted. "Show me. Please, Rachel, show me." I did, and her knees buckled as she covered her mouth and cried. "Oh God. Oh, thank God. You're coming back to me. You're coming back." She pressed her forehead to my arm, shaking with relief. I blinked twice to tell her I was okay, and she squeezed my hand gently. The rest of the day moved differently. Nurses came in with lighter shoulders. Dr. Patel stayed longer than usual, outlining early rehabilitation plans. Even the officers stationed outside my room stepped in to congratulate me, saying they had never seen a case like mine. But as hopeful as everything felt, the reality of the investigation lingered in the background. Detective Morrison arrived in the afternoon with updates. "Rachel," he said, pulling up a chair, "we have secured the warrant for the salvage yard security footage. It shows Marcus entering after hours on the exact night he said he practiced cutting brake lines." A hot flash of nausea rolled through me. Hearing the truth spoken out loud still sent a chill through my spine. Morrison continued. "Claire has already confessed her part. She admitted she encouraged him, that she told him a clean death would be better than a messy divorce. She's claiming she did not know he would actually go through with it, but texts show otherwise." He paused, studying my face. "The prosecution is confident. They have everything they need." I blinked once. Good. But then something crept into my thoughts. What happens now? What comes after justice? Could I return to my life, my job, my home, without being haunted by the sound of my husband planning my death? As if she sensed the shift in my expression, Jennifer moved closer. "You don't have to think about any of that yet," she said. "All you have to do right now is heal. The rest can wait." She was right. Healing first. Everything else later. The afternoon therapy session was intense. Dr. Patel and a physical therapist named Marissa worked on muscle stimulation, guiding small signals through my arms and legs. The sensations were strange at first, like distant echoes in a body that used to feel familiar. "Try to imagine the movement," Marissa said gently. "Even if it does not happen today, imagining it helps the brain rebuild pathways." So, I imagined moving my hand, my foot, my ankle, my wrist. I tried to remember what those things felt like. By the end of the session, my body felt heavy, drained, but alive in ways it had not felt since the accident. Later that evening, Emma helped me with the letterboard again. I spelled slowly, deliberately, IMESIFENUW. When she finished reading it, her eyes softened. "Yes, Rachel, you are safe. Marcus is in custody. He cannot reach you. He cannot come near this hospital. He will never hurt you again." I blinked once. Then I spelled another sentence. ISEEHIMINMYHEAD. Emma squeezed my hand. "Of course you do. What you went through was trauma, being trapped, hearing everything. The fear of dying and not being able to scream for help. That stays with you for a while. But it won't stay forever. And you are not alone in this." She brushed a loose strand of hair from my forehead. "We will help you heal. All of us." For a moment, the fear loosened its grip. That night, 2 officers remained stationed outside my door. One of them, a young woman with a soft voice, stepped inside to check on me before shift change. "Just letting you know, ma'am," she said, smiling gently. "I will be right out here. Nobody gets in without going through me first. You can rest easy." Rest easy. It was strange to hear those words and finally believe them. Around midnight, after the hospital had quieted and the hall lights dimmed, I lay awake listening to the rhythmic beeping of the machines. For the first time, the sounds did not feel like shackles. They felt like stability, life, time, space to breathe. The dark no longer scared me, because this time I was not waiting for Marcus to walk through the door. I was not listening for whispers about my death. I was listening to my own heartbeat. Steady, strong, alive. I took a slow mental breath and moved my focus to my hand again. Just a small attempt, a quiet challenge. And then, faintly but clearly, my finger twitched. On purpose. Twice. I felt tears gather again, but these were warm, empowering, quiet triumph in the darkness. I was not a ghost trapped inside a broken body anymore. I was a woman coming back to life, and nothing, absolutely nothing, was going to stop me now. The following morning started differently. Not with dread, not with the suffocating heaviness that had lived in my chest since the accident. There was still fear, yes, but it was quieter now. A shadow instead of a monster. and overshadowing it was something stronger: determination. Emma walked in just after sunrise, carrying a tray of equipment and a smile she could not hide. "You ready for day 2 of being a miracle?" she teased softly. If I could have laughed, I would have. I blinked once. Yes. She checked the ventilator, adjusted the blankets, brushed my hair back gently. Then she said something that struck me. "You know, if someone wrote a movie about you, no one would believe it. Too dramatic, too unbelievable, too heroic." Heroic. I did not feel heroic. I felt exhausted. I felt bruised, inside and out. But hearing her say it lit a little fire in me. Maybe surviving something like this made you a hero, even if you did not feel like one. Dr. Patel arrived soon after, reviewing my charts with the kind of focus that made me feel like a real patient and not a lost cause. "Good morning, Rachel," he said warmly. "Let us begin." The therapy today was harder. He increased the neurological stimulation, encouraging more voluntary activation. The tingling felt sharper. The movements required more concentration. And yet, I welcomed every second of it, because every second meant one thing. I was getting closer to taking my body back from the nightmare. Dr. Patel monitored my responses carefully. "Try to move your right wrist, even a small attempt." I concentrated, imagining the movement the way Marissa had taught me. At first, nothing happened. Then, a faint tremor. Barely visible, but there. Emma clasped her hands. "Did you see that?" She moved it. She actually moved it. Dr. Patel nodded, his voice calm but excited. "Excellent. Very excellent. Rachel, this is a strong sign of neural reconnection. Keep going." I felt tears building again. Note fear, note grief, hope. For the first time in a long time, I felt hope blooming inside me, fragile but real. When the session ended, I was drained, but the good kind of drained. The kind that came from working toward something. A few hours later, Detective Morrison returned with more updates about the investigation. He looked tired but resolute. "Rachel, we have located the text messages between Marcus and Claire that detail their planning." He paused, letting that settle. "It is clear he fully intended to end your life." There was nothing impulsive about it. Even though I had already heard the worst of it, the words still hit me hard. My husband had not just betrayed me. He had carefully, methodically planned my murder, every detail, every step. Jennifer sat beside me, gripping my hand. She asked the detective, "How strong is the case now?" "Stronger than ever," Morrison replied. "Between his confession, the recordings, the brake line forensics, the insurance documents, and the text messages, the prosecution has everything they need." My heart lifted slightly. I wanted justice. Not out of revenge, not out of anger, but out of the simple truth that what he did was evil. And evil needed consequences. After the detective left, Jennifer leaned close. "I am proud of you, Rachel. So proud. You fought for your life even when no one knew you were fighting." I blinked once. "Thank you." The afternoon physical therapist, Marissa, returned and continued the sessions. She was kinder than the needles and electrodes she carried suggested. Her voice stayed gentle through every step, reminding me I was not alone in the fight. We worked on mental mapping this time, imagining my limbs moving, imagining walking, imagining standing. It felt foolish at first, pretending to move muscles that felt like foreign objects. But she said something that stuck in my mind. Recovery starts in the brain long before it appears in the body. So I imagined everything: the bend of my knees, the flex of my hands, the feeling of standing on my own 2 feet again, the sensation of walking out of this room with real strength. When the session ended, Marissa smiled at me. "You are going to get there, Rachel. You are already proving every statistic wrong." The rest of the day was quieter. Nurses came in and out, adjusting fluids, checking vitals. Emma returned with fresh flowers from the front reception desk, something bright and alive to bring color into the room. Jennifer brought my favorite lavender lotion and massaged my arms gently while talking about normal things. Her job, her kids, her cat that refused to stop knocking things off the counter. For a moment, it felt almost like my old life, warm, comfortable, familiar. As night settled over the hospital, Emma returned one last time. She sat down beside me, her expression soft and thoughtful. "Can I tell you something?" she whispered. I blinked once. Yes. She looked down at her hands before speaking. "I almost missed it, Rachel. That first tear on your face. I almost walked out of the room without noticing." My chest tightened. She continued. "Something just told me to stop. Something told me to look again. If I had ignored that instinct, if I had just walked away, Marcus would have..." Her voice cracked. "He would have killed you." Tears filled my eyes. She reached out and wiped them gently. "You saved yourself," she said firmly. "But I need you to know something. You saved me too." I blinked in confusion. She smiled through her tears. "I became a nurse because I wanted to make a difference. But in the last few years, I have felt so burned out, so tired, so numb. Helping you reminded me why I chose this job. You brought me back too." Warmth flooded through me. Gratitude, connection, something deeper. She leaned closer. "We are going to get you out of this bed, Rachel. You and I, together." When she left for the night, the room felt peaceful, soft, safe. For the first time since the accident, I let myself think about life after the hospital. The possibility of standing again, walking again, teaching again, laughing again, loving again. I closed my eyes, and I pictured myself moving, step by step, inch by inch, back into the world, back into my life, back into myself. And then, as if responding to the thought, my finger twitched again. Not weak, not accidental, strong, deliberate, alive. I was coming back, and the world had better be ready. The day after my therapy breakthrough felt like a turning point, even before anyone entered the room. I could feel it in the way the morning light warmed my skin, in the quiet steadiness of my heartbeat, in the strange buzzing under my muscles that hinted something inside me was waking up. For the first time since the accident, I felt like I was not just surviving, I was progressing. Emma walked in with the same bright energy she brought every morning now, but this time she carried something new under her arm, a small whiteboard. "Morning miracle worker," she said, setting it at the foot of the bed. I brought a surprise. I blinked once, curious. She leaned closer. I thought maybe we could start visual communication beyond the letterboard. Something bigger, something easier. We will not use it today, but I want it ready. The fact that she believed I might be communicating more soon made something inside my chest glow. She believed in my recovery even before I did. Dr. Patel arrived minutes later, flipping through my chart with a look of satisfaction. "Rachel, I do not say this lightly. Your progress is exceptional. We are going to increase therapy intensity starting today." I blinked once. Ready. The morning session focused on repeated attempts at finger and wrist movement. Each attempt took an enormous amount of concentration. Sometimes nothing happened. Sometimes my muscles quivered without direction. And then, sometimes, a small movement appeared, just enough to keep all of us encouraged. At one point, my finger twitched twice in a row. Emma nearly screamed from excitement. Dr. Patel laughed. "I believe we may get full finger control soon, perhaps even hand control. Rachel, you are defying every medical expectation." If I could have spoken, I would have told him I was not defying medicine. I was fighting for my life. After the session, Jennifer came in carrying a bag full of things from my old life. She laid them gently on the bedside table, a small candle from my classroom, a photo of the two of us at a beach years ago, and my favorite soft cardigan. "I brought these to remind you of the world waiting for you," she said. "You are not stuck here forever." She pulled up the cardigan and pressed the sleeve to my cheek so I could feel it. "Do you remember this? You used to wear it every Sunday morning with coffee. You said it felt like a hug." It still did, even now. As she talked, her voice warm and full of memories, something shifted deep in my chest. I wanted that life back, not the life with Marcus, the life before him. The version of me that existed outside this nightmare. The woman who taught literature with passion, who laughed with her students, who loved quiet Sundays, who dreamed of a future full of possibility. That woman was still inside me. I just had to fight my way back to her. Later in the afternoon, Detective Park returned. She stood in the doorway for a moment, her expression softer than usual. I hope I am not interrupting, she said. Jennifer shook her head. Come in. Park stepped closer to my bed. We have more updates, and they are all in your favor. She took a deep breath. Marcus attempted to recant his confession this morning, claimed he was emotional, that he misunderstood the questions, that he never intended to harm you. Jennifer scoffed. Of course he did. But, Park continued, we have the recording, and Claire is cooperating. She has testified that Marcus directly told her he cut the brake lines. Her statement aligns perfectly with what you told us. My body felt both heavy and electric at the same time. Claire was many things, but at least she chose truth now. Maybe guilt had gotten to her. Maybe fear. Or maybe she realized Marcus would throw her under the bus the moment it benefited him. Park lowered her voice. The district attorney is preparing to file charges for attempted murder, conspiracy, insurance fraud, and premeditation. This case is airtight. I blinked once. Relief. Park hesitated, then added, I want you to know something, Rachel. Cases like this are rare, not because they do not happen, but because victims are so often silenced. You fought through the silencing. You made sure the truth was heard. You saved your own life. Her words hit me harder than I expected. I felt them settle deep in my soul. After she left, the room felt strangely still. The kind of quiet that invites reflection instead of fear. Jennifer sat next to me again, holding my hand. The more she talked, the more I felt myself awakening emotionally, mentally, physically. She described my parents' reaction when they heard the news, her children's excitement about visiting me, all the people praying, hoping, waiting for me to come back. It made me ache with gratitude. At night, Emma returned. She dimmed the lights, fixed my blankets, and sat beside me like she always did before going home. You know, she whispered, when I started nursing, I thought it meant fixing wounds or giving medicine, but this is different. You are teaching me something I never expected to learn. I blinked in question. She gave a small smile. You are teaching me what it means to keep fighting even when the world thinks you cannot. You are teaching me what survival looks like, what courage looks like. I wanted to reach for her hand, but my body was not there yet, so I blinked once. Thank you. She stood, smoothing her scrubs. Sleep well, Rachel. Tomorrow we work again. When the door closed and the night grew quiet, I listened to the steady rhythm of the machines, the same sound that once terrified me. Not anymore. Now, they sounded like a promise that I still had time, a promise that I still had a future. I focused again on my right hand, willing it to move. At first, nothing. Then, a faint spark, a quiet tremor. My finger twitched. Then again, a slow, intentional pattern. One small movement at a time. I was reclaiming myself. And tomorrow, I would move again. And again. Until one day, I would walk out of this hospital, alive, whole, unbroken. The days that followed blended together, but not in the suffocating, nightmare way they had before. This time, every sunrise meant progress. Every session meant movement. Every tiny victory meant I was one step closer to reclaiming my life. Within a week, I could move 2 fingers instead of 1. By the end of the second week, I could lift my wrist half an inch off the bed. It felt like climbing a mountain, using only my mind, inch by inch, breath by breath. But each time a muscle obeyed me, even for a fraction of a second, hope surged through me like electricity. Emma was with me through all of it. She charted my progress with the excitement of someone watching a miracle unfold in real time. Every twitch made her cheer. Every new motion made her tear up. And every time I grew frustrated because recovery was slow, brutal, and demanded more patience than I ever thought I possessed, she held my hand and whispered, "You are allowed to struggle. You are not allowed to give up." Dr. Patel increased my therapy intensity. New devices, new exercises, new goals. And slowly, I built strength. My voice was the hardest part. The first time a rasp escaped my throat, it startled both me and Emma. She leaned in, her eyes wide. "That was you. Try again, Rachel." I tried. At first, nothing. Then a faint vibration in my throat. A sound. A beginning. Day by day, I worked that sound into a breathy whisper. No words yet. just proof that my voice was still in there somewhere, waiting to find its way out. By the time I was moved to the rehabilitation wing, my progress shocked everyone. Nurses stopped by just to tell me they were rooting for me. Doctors who had once spoken over my bed like I was already gone now smiled proudly when they saw me. And through all of it, Jennifer was my anchor. She brought her kids to visit, filling the sterile room with laughter and stories and drawings they taped all over the wall. One evening, she brought a stack of letters from my students. They wrote things like, "Please come back soon. We miss your smile. School is not the same without you. You are the best teacher ever." I blinked through tears while she read each one. My students still thought of me. They remembered me as someone who mattered. I wanted to be that person again. I wanted to stand in my classroom again. I wanted to live again. 1 month after Marcus's arrest, the district attorney's office scheduled the pretrial hearing. I could not attend in person, my body still needed more time, but they allowed a live video feed so I could watch. Emma rolled in the screen and positioned it so I could see clearly. The courtroom came into focus. Marcus entered in an orange jumpsuit, shackled at the wrists. He looked thinner, his hair unkempt, his face gray and hollow. This was not the charming, confident man I had once married. This was a man stripped bare, exposed for what he truly was. Aliar. Atsovart. A would-be murderer. He sat down at the defense table. His eyes flicked to the screen, and for a moment, he froze like he had been punched. He realized I was watching. My heart pounded, but not with fear this time. With clarity. The hearing began. The prosecution laid out the evidence, the recordings, the texts, the insurance documents, the salvage yard footage, the forensic analysis of the brake lines. Marcus's lawyer tried to chip away at the case, but every argument crumbled under the weight of truth. Claire testified by video as well. Her voice shook as she admitted her role, her face crumpled with guilt. When it was my turn, the judge asked if I wished to make a statement. I could not speak yet, but my therapy computer allowed me to type sentences that a soft voice would read aloud. Emma placed the device in front of me. My fingers trembled, but I typed slowly, deliberately. The synthetic voice read my words. I am alive because I fought for every breath Marcus tried to take from me. I heard everything he said. I remember every detail, and I want the court to know that I am not a victim lying silent in a bed. I am here. I am conscious, and I am recovering. I will not be erased. The courtroom fell silent. Marcus stared at me on the screen, his eyes glassy, his jaw tight, not with anger, with fear. Real fear. The hearing ended with the judge ruling there was more than enough evidence to proceed. The trial was officially set. When the feed shut off, Emma turned to me, tears glistening in her eyes. "That was powerful, Rachel. You just took your life back in front of everyone." I blinked once. Yes, because it was true. The trial took place 6 months after the accident. This time, I was there, in person. They wheeled me into the courtroom with Jennifer beside me, Emma behind me, and Dr. Patel watching proudly from the gallery. When Marcus was brought in, he refused to look at me. But when I took the stand using my therapy computer, speaking slowly, clearly, he had no choice. I told the court everything I heard, every whisper, every plan, every kiss, every cruel word. I told them what it felt like to be trapped inside my own body, while the man I loved plotted my death. Several jurors cried. Even the judge's expression softened with grief and anger. When the verdict came back guilty on all counts, I felt something inside me break open. Not pain. Release. Marcus was sentenced to life in prison. And just like that, the shadow that had been haunting every corner of my mind was gone. 2 years later, I walked. Slowly, carefully, with a cane, but I walked. And on the day I returned to my classroom, my students stood and applauded. Some cried, some ran to hug me. The joy in their faces filled every part of me that had once felt empty. My life was not the same as before. It was better, stronger, real. Emma and I became inseparable. She called herself my honorary sister, and when she got married, she asked me to stand beside her, not in a wheelchair, but standing, on my own 2 feet. I did. Every step was a victory. Every breath was proof I survived. Every moment was a reminder. Marcus tried to kill me, but I lived. I fought. I won. and I will never stop living the life he tried to steal.